Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our webinar that is breaking down Coupa's next release, which is happening in September 2024, and it's called the R40 release. Opkey is an official Coupa partner, and we specialize in automating and accelerating Coupa testing and really allowing you to get the most out of your app. So today, Dimpy will be breaking down changes that are coming in this release, as well as common pain points and testing strategies that can help you test faster and not lose any of the usability of your environment. If you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. We will be sending out a copy of the webinar to everyone, so don't worry if you feel you missed anything. And I also encourage you to reach out to our sales team or grab a demo on the website if you really want to learn more, because sometimes we can't answer extremely personalized or customized questions. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Dimpy.
Thank you, Isabel. And thank you so much, everyone, for making the time today. We're talking about breaking down some of the changes, expected changes, what are the best practices for testing, and automation, what should be the right strategy that we have seen across our multiple customers that we have implemented it on, and what worked so far, and what's the methodology that we kind of assess and share with our customers and prospects. So here we are, R40 is here. There are three major releases that happen. R40 is one of them, and this is the last release of the year. And it has impacted a couple of different modules. So there is procurement, there's contracts management, couple of changes that have happened. Everywhere there's a stream of changes, how well you can automate and how well you can put up and make sure that things are part of the overall end-to-end digital assistant, end-to-end automation, and all the different features are kind of connected with an end-to-end system, or part of an GenAI system, or part of something which is like automating and making sure that most of these transactions and processes are saving some kind of productivity. So this is exactly what the update is all about. We talk about a couple of changes that have come in as part of this particular release into different modules, and then we'll also talk about what do they mean when it comes to the business processes, what do they mean when for your test automation scripts, and how those changes really affect the strategy of testing. This is a key part of change management. We already have our testing and test automation suites which are running and actually making sure that the end-to-end system is completely validated. But really looking at all of these changes and how it affects the end-to-end business process is going to make a difference. So let's talk about some of these changes. So there are a couple of changes across procurement, which talk about floating bar that has been enabled on the requisition page that now allows you to quickly save, submit, and approve the items at the time of creation. This wasn't before, so this is a key addition here. Through Coupa's Advantage Marketplace, you can now access Coupa's Advantage suppliers as well. So this, this is a big leap because your process is going to change. Earlier, you had to navigate to the negotiation discount page to kind of make sure that you access the supplier's screen. Now you're able to do it on the same page. Contracts management. Now you're able to quickly create your contracts by duplicating. So you're able to create multiple transactions on contracts just on one screen. So you can create new contracts on the same screen that you are. There are contract approvals and reminder notifications, which were inconsistent with Coupa's UI. So that's fixed. This is a bug fix from the previous release. There are certain changes that have come as part of ERP and financials, which are employee approval notifications. They have been updated with a new template. This is a more automated template and kind of integrates with the other transactions as well. So it's pretty cool to have. Expenses email notifications, that has been improved. There are approval notifications, and the entire hierarchy of approval and that particular workflow is completely changed. Remittance information, this is a new field this is now available with payments. It was available separately on the payments page earlier, but now it's easier to kind of have it on the same page as payments, so you can match with the different invoices. When we talk about all of these changes, we actually assess this as part of our advisory across all the different modules. This is exactly what we do right before the update, and that's the assessment that helps us in analyzing what are the key business processes that are affected, what are the different transactions that are affected, what are the different screens that are affected, so we can make the modifications into the screens and into our test automation suites. So this analysis really helps us in making the changes in the tests beforehand. The detailed advisory is part of advisory document, and all of you who have subscribed to our webinar are going to get a copy of that. Now, why it's important and what are the practices, best practices of testing the update and major updates like R40? It's critical. All of these changes actually accommodate and together and kind of make sure that these are the changes that you have to do in your test scenarios to be able to run a more comprehensive pack when you get the R40 update. So preparing your test environment beforehand is critical. Making sure that you have your refreshed environment, you have your user accesses in place, you have your the end-to-end test suite in place up and running before you actually start for testing. You have to determine, if you're doing manual testing, you have to determine who's going to be responsible for which module and are they available at the time of release testing. Assessing what are the enhancements that have been done in this particular release and what's relevant for your organization that you want to opt. That's again critical, because those are the business processes, and then further those are the test scenarios that you want to be included as part of your regression suite. When you have your updated security users list, you will be able to validate the security access and the permissions also at the same time while the testing is going on. Last but not the least, integrations, again, very, very critical when it comes to making sure you have a comprehensive set of regression suite. Is you want to modify, you want to validate all your inbound and outbound integrations and the validations against it post release. You have to update the testing checklist with the priority test scenarios as well. So once the regression test suite is identified, once the integration test suite is identified, you want to make sure that you prioritize the test suite and create a sanity suite also that you execute right before the regression pack. While at the time of the update, the same weekend, there has to be an impact assessment that kind of assesses what's the change between the two releases. And that delta should be part of the risk-based test. Those should be the impacted test scenarios that should be identified and created into a suite, and you should be able to execute them first while at the time of execution, followed by the regression and then followed by the integration test suite. How do you plan and determine the update on the impact? This is critical, right? So once you have onboarded, once you have an entire set of manual or automated test scenarios in place that you know that you execute for your modules and are critical for your organization's business landscape, you're pretty okay with the test cycles not coming up while at the time of releases, right? So and then there comes a major release where most of these features, most of these business processes are going to really see a big impact and good amount of changes. So the first step essentially as a best practice is to identify what is that impact. And hence we were talking about some of these changes. We're talking about the advisories that make significant amount of sense, because you want to validate these changes and what are the relevant transactions and tabs and features that are affecting your key business processes that are running in production. We do it automatically, and there are multiple ways of doing it: assessing the release notes and then identifying the business processes, using an automated system to identify the real-time impact of the changes between the previous and the new release, making a checklist and making sure that you have a risk-based test in place before you even run the sanity suite, before you run the regression suite. It gives an immediate understanding of what are the test scenarios that have broken because of this particular impact. So you're not testing 200%, you're not testing 5,000 test scenarios in one go and just identifying based on monkey testing, right? So this is more of a functional, more structured way of identifying the risk and then actually going into the regression and actually full regression testing. How we help is something that we have, as we said, right? I mean, there are multiple times that we have done this particular activity. We have created a methodology that works. There's a playbook that works across all of our customers, and that path is a 5-day certification release. We start our certification process. We call it patch certification, or we start our patch certification process essentially before the patch. So there is a set of activities that we do before the patch, which is a pre-patch process. Then we actually do a patch process, and then post-patch we do a retrospect to understand how this particular change is going to impact what has happened, what are the different changes, how do you really assess all the different changes, and how do you make sure that your entire release and the entire environment is up and running. So the steps include the pre-update advisory, the advisory that we were highlighting earlier. Day one impact analysis. So we do a real-time impact analysis to assess what are the changes, what are the features that were there in the previous release, what are the features that are there in the new release, and then do a comparison of these changes and these features. The update certification gets done in 3 business days, and then 2 days are kind of part of retesting and recertification cycles when you actually go back to the functional team and they can look at some of these changes and they can understand, resolve some of these changes on the configurations, and we retest the test cycle which has failed. The test data preparation is automatic. So we have a test data driven test suite where we create the prerequisites, we create the test data and the transaction data automatically. That feeds into the regression test suite scenarios. So there is no manual intervention whatsoever. Since we identify what are the new features that are coming up, what are the scenarios that are relevant to those features, those are the tests that get added to the regression test suite as well using the configuration analysis. And that's how we get a comprehensive test suite every patch that makes sure that it's pretty aligned to how the business is running and what are the features that we have opted for. We also do a security and report validation. So that's also part of the patch validation and the certification program that really takes care of the user accesses and the security testing. So it identifies what are the different accesses that are currently there and what are the privileges that have been granted to those accesses and roles. Post patch, if there is any change to those privileges, that's identified and there's a comparative analysis that happens. This is again automatic. All of these 3 reports, whether it is regression, security, and end-to-end change management and impact analysis report is automatic, and where we assess, and it's kind of backed by the pre-built set of accelerator library that we have for Coupa. And again, we kind of operate when it comes to business benefits. There are 3 key areas and categories that we function into. Reduce significant amount of risk. How can we increase significant amount of test coverage to make sure there is no risk? And then how can we reduce the cost? All of this is interconnected. The test coverage is increased by knowing what are the features, how can you automatically increase those features using the pre-built accelerators and make sure that that particular coverage is completely enhanced based on the business processes. You are identifying the risk areas all the time and you are accommodating all of these changes into the regression suite automatically. What is the ideal set of test cases across all the business processes and how you are accommodating all of those changes? Automatically configuring these tests, basis creating the test data again automatically and then seeding that into the test scenarios. We help our customers increase the test coverage. So that's one of the key business benefits. And that in turn really reduces the chances of any defect leakage on the production. And then since we have like an analytics which really focuses on gaps, so what you are testing today is one piece, and what are the based on the changes and based on the configurations, what are the tests that you're not testing today is also identified using the accelerator. So whatever test scripts are not being tested, those become part of the gap analysis, and that increases the test coverage again.
Thank you so much, Dimpy. We have a couple questions.
Mhm.
First one, how long before the release do you usually start preparing?
We start our advisory process about 4 to 5 weeks, and then 1 week before the patch that we start our pre-patch activity. So that's essential. I mean, we have to make sure that we have the right accesses in place, we have the prerequisites done, we do a quick sanity of the environment, we have the refreshed environment with us. So we start our pre-patch readiness a week before. I hope that helps.
Gotcha. Mhm. Can you talk a little about how AI speeds up Coupa testing? I didn't know you could use AI for Coupa.
Oh, yes, I think Coupa as a vendor is also using AI and kind of modifying some of its features and using automation significantly. At Opkey, we're really aware of the fact that if we have to increase, there are multiple assistants that we are creating already. So we have an intelligent chatbot assistance part of Opkey that really speeds up your user interactions and tailors some of these interactions and connects you to the different testing requirements that you have within our platform. So that's already available. We are also developing some of the key AI assistants for Coupa, which would be an AI test analyst, an AI business analyst, that really would be providing 24/7 intelligent support when it comes to doing all the different activities, whether it is creation, whether it is making sure that you have the right regression suite for the right module, the right test data. So it kind of, other than automating some of the monotonous tasks, it is also really intelligent enough based on the historic data that we have to identify and speed up all the processes of the ERP test lifecycle.
Thank you. How does the no code aspect come into it? Do we have to use no code or is there a coding option available?
No, there's no coding option available. This is a no-code test automation platform. So whatever test scripts that you don't want to use from the pre-built libraries and you want to create your own, you can use our test recorder plugin engine that we have. This is no-code recorder and the keyword libraries to create some of these test scripts. No, there's no coding available. There's a option of custom function library creation where you can write a Java code and then create a custom function library, but that's pretty much not needed because it's a 100% no code test automation platform.
All right, that's all the questions we had for today. I want to encourage anyone with more questions to reach out directly to our sales team and understand better how Opkey can be a fit for your Coupa environment. Like Dimpy mentioned, we will be sending out a copy of the advisory. And we'd like to thank everyone for coming and hope to see you again soon. And thank you to Dimpy as well.
Thank you, Isabel. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time.